Okay, I've got another reaction video here for you guys. I'm gonna be watching this. I hiked over 1,000 miles in sandals by a dude called dirtyjarhikes. Him and his lady are through hikers. They just did the Grand Divide Trail. I think it's the Grand Divide. Yeah, it's up in Canada, and it goes through the Canadian Rockies, and I think it's about 700 miles, something like that. But these two hike in sandals in bedrocks, like I hiked the entire Pacific Crest Trail in. So I think this should be a pretty cool video. Let's go. Let's go. Yup. There they are.
Hey, what's up, guys? This year, Dirty and I backpacked over 1,000 miles, and I wore nothing but sandals. We went on 2 through hikes this year. The first was the muddy, rocky, Rudy Long Trail in Vermont, and that took us a month.
I've heard of that trail.
And the second hike was the very remote Great Divide Trail.
Okay, so she's not wearing
along
sandals.
The Canadian Rockies.
He's wearing
and that
sandals.
took us 45 days. I
Leave
had
it
a
to
really
the man wearing
interesting
sandals.
and good experience backpacking in sandals. And I wanted to make a video just showing some of the things that I learned and some of the mistakes I made while backpacking in 2 pretty brutal mountain terrains. 100 years ago, it would be crazy to wear anything but boots. And now it seems like a lot of people are wearing trail runners out in the backcountry.
Because we didn't have the technology. We hadn't... 100 years ago, it would have been 1926. So I don't know about that, man. I don't know. I think 100 years ago, dudes and chicks who were going out into the mountains were probably like, why would we go barefoot? Why wouldn't we wear something sturdy and protective for our feet, like botas? There's my Hispaniola for you. But hey, you know, here we are, some of us hiking in sandals. Let's go.
And maybe, just maybe, sandals are the footwear of the future.
You like it?
The good stuff.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
After 1,000 miles, I noticed some pretty unique benefits to backpacking in sandals compared to boots or trail runners. The biggest benefit, number one,
Oh yeah, after 1,000 miles, Brody, after 100 miles, after 10 miles, you're gonna know some differences, dude. You're gonna know some differences.
Not even close. Probably the biggest reason why it's so hard to switch back to shoes is because of how well the sandals handled wet trail conditions. So no matter how wet it was on the trail, these sandals gripped really well. This Vibram outer sole is really durable and grippy, whereas Dirty had some problems with her trail runners slipping around on different trails or trying to climb up slick.
That's such a terrible feeling when you're wearing closed-toe hiking shoes and you're in a river and you're rock hopping, you're trying not to get water in your ish. Even though like the non-waterproof trail runners, it's, you know, it can just happen. But even with sandals, like I try and keep my feet dry. I do try at certain points in time during the day, throughout the day. You've seen my videos. I try and keep my feet dry sometimes because it's just the performance is there.
Rock, these sandals grip really well to rock, and they grip really well when it's wet. The sandals were also super convenient when the trail was wet the entire day. On both the Long Trail and the Great Divide Trail, it was almost impossible to keep your feet dry. But when I was wearing the sandals,
your feet dry out faster
I would cross creeks or streams or rivers, and then 10 minutes later, they would dry. Instead of having wet socks with a lot of sand or rocks in them, causing blisters throughout the day. So with the sand,
I gotta say something about that. I know in some of my previous videos and many of my videos, I've said, oh, I did, and I tell people like, oh, I did the whole PCT, never had a single blister. But the reality of that is, and to demystify this for anyone who's like, how do you hike in sandals? You can get blisters. You can get terrible blisters. And it's called strap chafe. And that is when you go from walking in a river or crossing a stream, and then you go directly into dry, dusty trail or a dirt trail, and you get debris in between the straps of your sandals and your skin, and because the straps are wet and they get a bunch of debris in there, it can cause some really gnarly chafe. So painful that there's been times where I've been like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm bleeding. And you take your sandal off and you're not bleeding, you're just, so there is that.
Sandals, you don't have to take off your shoes each time you cross the creek. You don't have to worry about having enough dry socks for your trip.
Kakwa!
And
Thurston
probably
Kakwa.
the most unexpected benefit is your feet don't smell like stinky cheese at the end of the day. So if your upcoming trip...
They do. This is false. I don't believe anyone. You get a different kind of funk wearing sandals compared to wearing shoes. I will say that. You can get some funk. It's something else, man. So don't believe the hype. I call shenanigans on that. Anyways.
Involves terrain where your feet are going to be wet a lot of the day. Sandals might be a good choice to let your feet breathe more and hopefully prevent blisters. The second benefit is a really underrated benefit, and one that I've come to really appreciate over time. And that's that hiking in sandals really does strengthen your foot. I'm not a physical therapist by any means, just a guy who wears sandals. But your toe flexion in a boot is a lot more limited, and they don't build that strength over time. Whereas
this is true. Your feet naturally want to splay out. Your toes want to splay out. If you look at ancient tribes or primitive tribes that live practically barefoot or entirely barefoot, and you look at their feet are out. They're almost like gorilla feet, and that does happen to your feet over time. I can't even wear normal shoes any longer because the time I've spent in sandals, my toe splay is insane, and you start to feel your toes individually at times flexing to support the rest of your foot. It's stellar. It really
Sandal
is.
really forces you to dig into the footbed and build those micro muscles that also have a benefit up your body through your legs, into your hips, and a lot of other places that you might not even expect. When you're hiking, especially carrying weight, backpacking with sandals, you really are engaging your toe a lot into the footbed. You're really having to dig all 5 of your toes into the footbed on uphills, downhills, uneven terrain as a way to stay balanced and to stay strong through these environments. In my opinion, boots lead to weak feet and problems elsewhere, and sandals lead to stronger feet and a more healthy, more dynamic range of motion.
This is something I tell people that's true for me. If I stick my foot in a trail runner and it's got a big stack on the sole, the stack is how much cushion there is beneath your foot and in between your foot and the ground, or you know, the protection outside of your foot. I'll tend to go a little harder than average, and I can blow out my knees, my hips, cause all sorts of problems. When you're wearing sandals, you feel aggravation in your feet before anything. Myths. What are the myths? Dirt jar.
So let's be real. I don't want to pull the wool over everyone's eyes and act like sandals are some magic cure for everything and they're the greatest thing in the world. Every footwear has its drawbacks, and sandals are no exception. But before I talk about the one really problematic thing I encountered on the GDT, that's insane.
What was that?
That was a tree falling.
You're kidding.
That was a Sasquatch, baby.
That was sick. So before I talk about the one pretty problematic thing that I experienced on the GDT, let's first debunk a couple of the common misconceptions or concerns people have about backpacking in sandals. The first concern, and it is very reasonable, is that because sandals are more exposed, you are going to break every bone in your foot. There's going to be rocks just attacking you from all sides. and your feet
You
are
gotta be
totally
careful,
not
bro.
safe. You're totally vulnerable, and you're going to end up being airlifted out of the mountains. And full transparency, I
Oh, this is
did
the
stub
myth.
my toe a
This is the
couple
myth.
times on the GDT. The
Yeah,
last of
dude, I
which
thought I
was
broke my
very,
toe
very
last 2
painful.
weeks
I knew I
ago.
didn't break it,
Ah,
but I also knew.
Brody, trim your nails, Brody. Please trim your nails. Oh, man. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, help us. God forgive the man.
That it was going to hurt the rest of the day. But interestingly enough, it wasn't the big toe in all these cases, it was the smaller toes. And that's because the sandal that I was wearing was a size too small. The sandal that I had first felt really good.
Brody.
It felt really good around my foot.
Too small.
But my pinky toe.
That right there, you can see that if you look at the side of his pinky toe. That's why I have switched from the Bedrocks to the Lunas, because the Bedrocks, they're narrower, dude. They're narrower. You gotta have enough sandal around your foot to keep you just can't be having that. You can't be having that, dude. You gotta have the sandal bigger than your foot. And I see people with their toes hanging off them. I'm like, what are you doing, child?
Was falling off the edge of the sandal. The
Forgive them,
footbed just
Lord, they
wasn't
don't know
big
what
enough.
they do.
So when I got new sandals, I sized up.
That's
and I
better.
made sure that there was a bumper around all of my toes rather than just my big toe. A quick shout out, if you have a super funky or unique foot, Adam and his family at Deliberate Life Designs make fully customizable sandals, and his sandals tend to have a lot of material past the toe to help with that bumper. Adam and his family helped us out a lot on the long trail, so I thought I'd give a quick shout out. And the sandals he's making right now are very unique and great for all different activities. Another potential concern that people have with backpacking sandals is that this nylon cord or this toe divider is going to cause blisters or cause problems.
Yeah, the thong is a total concern. When I first started doing some hardcore miles and hiking in my Bedrocks in 2024, I was like, is this gonna be bad? Is this gonna be painful? It feels a little invasive at first because you're not used to it. And if you wear them as camp shoes or casually, it feels like it's like going out in public in your pajamas. But I never had any issues with it, except for one time. I did get a stick. I was hiking along and a stick went right underneath that thong strap that goes between your big toe and your small toes and cut me, and I had to put some Leuko tape on there to protect myself.
There is a real concern that when these sandals come out of the box, this nylon cord is pretty firm, but it does soften over time. And I think it softened for me a little bit quicker because we were crossing so much water. But the bigger concern with all this and the way to address it is that you need to wear your sandals a little bit looser than you think. There's this tendency for us to really pull down on our footwear to make it really tight and secure. But you actually need to do the opposite with the sandals. You need to adjust them so that it almost feels like your heel is floating and your toes are floating. For me personally, my heel doesn't have a lot of rubbing on the back, and it doesn't have a lot of rubbing here at all. My foot just feels like it's snug enough to stay in, but it's not too tight to where I don't feel that floating feeling. These Bedrock sandals have a lot of adjustable points to them that you can find the exact right fit for yourself.
I've found that the Luna sandals are even more adjustable than the Bedrocks, but it's very true, and it can be kind of strange feeling because we're trained to feel like the tighter our shoes are, the more secure our feet are, which can be the case for a lot of shoes. It's not with sandals.
So the big problem that I had on the GDT, I like to call the crack. On the bottom of my
I know
foot,
where he's going
the
with
toe
this.
pad specifically, I developed a really deep and long skin crack, mostly due to my own negligence. On about the second week of the GDT, we had a really long 7-day stretch, and I was just letting my feet get really dirty and really dry throughout that whole time, and my skin started cracking. Once we got to town, Dirty bought me some foot balm, and I had never used something like that before, but it was really, really helpful. The brand that I used was called Moss Boss, and it was
Yeah, I did my research on this before the Pacific Crest Trail because I was looking for other people who had thru hiked in sandals. And if you read up about it, you can even find it on Bedrock's website. They have like a testimonial and a little blurb and story from a chick named Pebbles, who's like their poster girl for people through hiking and long hiking in their sandals. She supposedly did the entire PCT in just one pair of Bedrock sandals. Apparently that's true. I don't know how she did it. I sure would love to talk to her. So Pebbles, if you're out there, girl, holla at your boy. But yeah, she did explain that she on her hike had a regiment where she where she would at night she would thoroughly clean her feet and moisturize her feet. And what I did to prevent any kind of skin cracks was at the end of the day, yeah, I always had baby wipes on me. I'm a baby wipe guy on trail. What can I say? I would clean my feet off thoroughly, and if they were already clean, I would if I was camped near a creek, I'd go rinse them in the creek. And I would apply Vaseline. I used Vaseline. Rub it all over my feet. Some nights I'd even smother my feet in it and then wear socks to bed on top of the Vaseline. So take that down, sandal kids. Don't get skin cracks. It's hellacious. It feels like someone holding a Bic lighter up next to your skin until it burns.
really good. It was very packable. And I would rub that on my feet each night, put on my socks, and that really helped my feet feel a lot healthier in the morning. The really big crack didn't go away because we were hiking so much, but with the extra cleaning at night and the foot balm, I had no other problems the rest of the trip. You could also do a very logical thing, and that is wear socks while you're hiking. I probably wore socks 30% of the time, barefoot 70%, just because I like the feeling of being barefoot.
It's a really nice feeling. It makes it feel like you're wearing closed-toe shoes. When you slip on some Njinjis and wear some toe socks with your sandals, especially if you're spending a lot of time hiking in them barefoot, it can just change the world, and it can give you a false sense of security sometimes. I found it did for me.
Barefoot. But socks really help, especially
Feels
if
like
you're in terrain that's very sandy or very dirty. The first option is the Njinji toe socks or any type of toe sock. And the other option for socks is one that I like to call the claw, and it has space for your big toe.
They're technically called a tabby sock, T-A-B-I. That's the technical name for socks that are made like this.
And then all your other toes hang out here. And they are a little bit thicker fabric, so they're meant to be.
The tabby socks, though, they don't promote splay as much, and they do, in a sense, they will keep your feet, your outer toes, not splaying enough. That's the best demonstration I can do. I'm in my car. I just realized that the back-facing camera showed that
you can wear your Bedrocks into the shoulder season. These are the two options, and they would really probably cut down on the amount of cracking that you would have throughout a long hike.
I'll go into the different kinds of toe socks in another video. I think that's something that a lot of people do need to know about, are the different kinds of toe socks and the materials they're made out of. I have all of them, so I'll do that. I'll do that in another video. I gotta remember to do that.
I recommend carrying a couple of them and switching between these and barefoot whenever it makes sense.
Like Lieutenant Dan said, gotta take care of your feet. You really do, though. Imperative Mott.
There's three people who come to mind that I think would really benefit from sandals. The first is if your next backpacking trip is in an area with a lot of water or you can't keep your feet dry. These sandals are a really good way to walk through that water and then dry really quickly afterwards. You don't have to deal with wet socks throughout the day and the blisters that come with that. The second type of person is someone that maybe has had a lot of foot pain or knee or Achilles pain and just can't seem to find the right solution to it. Sandals do force you to engage with your toes, and
I have read testimonial after testimonial from people who have flat feet, high arches, knee pain, hip pain, back pain, all sorts of stuff, that tried every shoe on the market to hike and backpack in, that eventually, once they switched to sandals and they allowed their feet to strengthen, it then supported you develop all these lower leg muscles that you can't develop without the ability of your toes to flex and your feet to really flex as well. There's depth to that. You really got to go into it, but he's touching on it briefly.
Those micro muscles in your foot, you are more intentional and you walk at a slower pace, but this prevents some of the overuse injuries that happens when people have trail runners on with all that cushion and they're able to walk more throughout the day, maybe at a slightly faster pace, but that leads to those overuse injuries over time.
That's what I'm saying,
The third person
dude.
is someone who has worn zero drop shoes before and has really enjoyed it, but they're just looking for a different experience. Plus, Bedrocks just last longer. I had a pair of Ultra Olympuses that busted out after 250 miles, whereas the Bedrocks can go easily 500, 600, 700, 800 miles.
450 miles before the stitching on the wings blows out. That's my experience. Every single pair that I've owned. Shout out to Bedrock for having some killer customer support. They've replaced a pair before. They're pretty on it. But yeah, that you will blow out your sandals, especially if you wear your shoes from the inside out, where your feet wear out your footwear before terrain wears out your footwear. But absolutely, like two people someone with a shorter inseam than you could out hike you in a pair of cushy, comfy trail runners, and that's just the way it is.
They're just
bruh.
that beefy of a shoe.
They're pretty beefy. I recommend the Evo C Pro.
This video is not sponsored by Bedrock or anyone. I just wanted to share with people my experience.
I'm not sponsored either.
I had such a good one with the sandals. It really made hiking so much more fun and engaging, and it made it harder in a sense. It is easier to backpack in shoes. That's a pretty obvious fact, but the sandals provide.
And to me, it honestly, now that I've been hiking so much in sandals, the thought of hiking in shoes just sounds like the biggest pain in the neck. If they're wet, if you got to cross a stream or a river before you camp and your shoes are wet by the end of the day, even if your sandals are wet at the end of the day and you got to put them on wet the next morning, I'd rather put on wet sandals than an entire wet shoe. It's just, to me, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, it does. You are more engaged. You do have to think a bit more. The more you hike, you start to get a feel and you start to be more connected with your foot placement, and your intentional steps become more intentional in your walking. And that can be a pretty amazing feeling, because that can actually make you a faster walker, because your whole body moves more efficiently as time goes by in that sense. And that's a pretty amazing feeling.
This whole different, unique experience where you are just that much more present with your walking. And I just want to make a video to encourage people who are looking to incorporate sandals into their life. Even if you're not going backpacking, I think a high performance sandal like the Bedrocks or Adam's sandals from Deliberate Life just make walking really fun. Your foot feels a lot stronger over time. And it's just more of an engaging experience. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Dirty and I are back in Colorado. We have no snow yet. Before coming out here, we were exploring all throughout southern Utah, trying to find some caves and arches and petroglyphs, pictographs. Some more of those videos are going to be coming out on this channel. And we will eventually, later this winter, be sifting through all the Great Divide Trail footage and putting together a series for that. You've seen all this B-roll throughout this spectacular out in the community.
You gotta go check out his videos, their videos from their GDT hike. They've got them up on their YouTube channel. Dirty Jar Hikes. It's pretty stellar. It's pretty stellar. They capture some great footage. It makes me want to go up to Canada and do the GDT myself. It's really inspirational and so beautiful and fun to watch.
Canadian Rockies. So we're really excited for that. And be sure to check out the new Utah videos coming out this month as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and happy hiking out there.
Righteous. Oh, I love that. The tree, that's the tree that fell earlier? Okay, maybe not a Sasquatch. That looks like a pretty dead tree. Wow. Crazy. It'd be sick if he just like ran through that river in his sandals, just like, whoa. Yeah, so there you have it. There you have it. That's, you know, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. No, don't play it again. Don't play it again. Yeah, that's pretty dope. Enjoyed that. So yeah, that's it right there. That's it. Thanks for watching. That's another reaction video. I'm trying out this detail app, and as long as I have it, which is just another 24 hours, because I'm doing a 3-day trial period for it. I don't know. Should I keep doing these? I can't afford a new computer, and the computer I have right now is a potato, so I can't run OBS, which is the software all these people who do reaction videos use to film their reaction videos. But I have this, so I can put out some content like this, and I think it's pretty neat. I think it's pretty fun. When I don't have, like this weekend, I'm not going out to the mountains, and so having an outlet to be able to put out some content and cover some things I think is kind of interesting. So let me know what you think, and yeah, it's June 30th. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah. Cheers and much love, everyone. Peace out till the next one.